Friar Christoph opens his homily for the feast of St Benedict with these words. Someone, brothers and sisters, searches someone, a worker. With Benedict, let Jesus employ us. We are truly monks if we live from the work of our hands, and still more from the work of his hands, from him who invites us now to be Eucharist, by him, with and in him, for the life of the world, end quote. What a profound contrast Christoph makes, living from the work of our hands, and still more, living from the work of his hands. We are like clay in the hands of the potter. We are God's work, surrendering our control daily so that we can be molded and shaped by the divine hands, formed into love. Christoph goes on, quote, "What are we doing in Algeria at Tiberine? Oh, nothing. It is just foreseeing the coming of a new world. The Benedictine Monastery, it is here. It is a point of view, nothing more, nothing less," end quote. Sisters and brother, what are we doing here in the woods of the lost coast of Northern California? Can we simply say we are here just for seeing, for beholding the beauty of God's life and love, for seeing the reign of God's love growing a little more each day in this community, in this little corner of the earth that we are inhabiting? For Christ's love to be and become more, what are we to do? Indeed, we are to see, to behold this love burning in our hearts and outside of us in one another, and all who come here on retreat or for whatever reason. In the middle of our lives is Christ's love. Love that transforms, heals, builds up community. Love that stretches and expands beyond our simple, ordinary lives. What are we to do? To see and then to practice. To practice the good zeal with the most ardent love. That we heard in chapter 72 of Benedict's Rule. In this chapter, written later in Benedict's life and unique to him, what makes it all the more important in understanding his monastic worldview, Benedict is not interested in cultivating interior attitudes alone. Along with this, we are invited to practice what is growing of the good zeal within us. And we are to practice this good zeal ardently. We are to practice this good zeal in faith, especially during those times when we notice the burning zeal of bitterness, resentment, jealousy, or envy beginning to fill our hearts. Practice is the key word. practicing loving acts of kindness, practicing the good zeal with all the ardor we can muster. This is good medicine for confronting the evil or bad zeal, which can poison us from within if not attended to, and be truly hurtful to community life. Benedict is very concrete about what those things are that we must do. I'm using the translation from Sister Aquinata Bachmann, which is a little similar to this one. First, mutual respect, mutual reverence, respect for the other as a person. And the word used in her translation is vie, vying for mutual respect. We don't wait for the other to show this to us first. No. We are to vie in showing respect. We are to do it before our sister or brother does it. This is a strong admonition, and it needs to be strong to draw out our love and compassion, to help us see, to truly see the person standing before us as a beloved son or daughter of God. Next, we are to bear one another's weaknesses of both body and character, and to do this with the utmost patience. In terms of weakness, Benedict includes everyone, all of us. He does not see the community divided into some weak and some strong. We are to bear these weaknesses, our own and others, with the utmost patience. Sister Aquinata writes, patience does not mean simply accepting, resigning oneself to a situation, but firmness, strength, and courage to bear something and to persevere actively. Patience, she says, is the day-to-day expression of love. The beautiful passage from Galatians, carry one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ, reveals the deeper reality of what this bearing is about. Jesus is our model. He bore our infirmities. He bears them now tenderly, compassionately. As he has done, we are to do, bearing the burdens of one another and doing it with the most ardent love. In verse 6, we are to vie again with one another in rendering obedience. Whenever, for example, we begin to argue with one another over the simplest thing, I believe it is a call to mutual obedience, deeper listening to the other, suffering a bit before giving rein to our reaction. Once again, we are to vie in showing this obedience to one another. Here is how Sister Aquinata says mutual obedience might look like in community. Quote, feeling with another, walking in her shoes, adjusting to her pace, adapting oneself, being open to correction from the other, to a critical word, to a different opinion, considering a correction in God's light, and asking what message from God every member of the community has for each one personally, asking what we can learn from each individual, end quote. Lastly, in verse 8, we are to live pure, sisterly, brotherly love to one another. Pure signifies selfless, sincere, without seeking one's advantage. When this is alive in a community, you can feel it in the atmosphere. You can see it in a look one to another, especially in those spontaneous moments. Clearly, what chapter 72 of the Rule invites us to practice stretches us inside and out. To practice the good zeal disarms and transforms the bad or evil zeal. It disarms the power that it can have over us and then transforms that negative energy. It opens us to God's healing love, God's forgiving love, which is stronger than death. To practice the good zeal, all of us together, is to place our lives, our very being, into the divine hands. It is how, to return to Christoph at the beginning, it is how we live from the work of his hands, from his love, from his grace. It is how we are to be Eucharist for one another and for the life of the world.